The session is going to look a little bit different this year with all of the COVID precautions in place. For one, legislators will be able to vote remotely.
Leaders from the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe and North Dakota Native Vote say having House sub-districts isn't about politics or party. It's about getting better represented in the legislature.
The Senate did not have the votes needed to override that veto of the bill that would ban transgender athletes from playing on public school sports teams of the gender that they identify with. Those millions of dollars in federal funding that the Human Services Department requested won't be spent until lawmakers come back here to the Capitol to decide.
The bills that did not advance today will still have a shot of being reintroduced here on the House floor, but they'll have a higher 2/3 vote threshold needed to pass instead of the simple majority. The GOP is looking like they will maintain their hold on the legislature. Currently, Republicans outnumber Democratic NPL lawmakers in the Assembly by a margin of 116 to 25. It's only the 16th time in state history North Dakota has held a special session, but it's the first time they'll be dealing with both redistricting and allocating more than $1 billion in federal COVID relief money. The 12 members chosen include 6 men and 6 women with 2 alternates. Cameras were not allowed in the courtroom for the jury selection today, but I was able to sit in on the process as state and defense attorneys questioned prospective jurors. Much of this morning was filled with emotional testimony from Jackie Faulkner. She and her husband Robert co-owned RJR before he was murdered. Now she says life has been difficult since then and since learning of an affair Robert was having while they were married. Exclusive negotiations are underway to buy Coal Creek Station. Governor Doug Burgum joins us. Known as Measure 2 is what we'll be looking into today. Tell us about the North Dakota Watchdog Network and why you would like to see this measure receive a no vote. How many days are you hoping to save, and how will those days be used?
Well, first of all, I was hoping to save 7, but we're not going to make it.
Maddie, unprecedented what happened.
That's right, Nicholas and Josh. Thursday, lawmakers voted to expel Representative Luke Simons from the legislature. Documents from Legislative Council dating back to 2018 show that House leaders knew about the issue, but seemingly the only action taken was a ban on his interaction with women in Legislative Council. You mentioned ongoing discussions with legislative leaders regarding their 4 days left that they have to deal with this and redistricting. Do you expect to need to call a special session, or how do you plan to work with lawmakers to get this plan through?
Well, we've had I think, a very productive and open dialogue with the legislature.
Navigating the Capitol in a wheelchair isn't the easiest for Royce Schultz.
The doors are too narrow, they're too heavy. You know, just from my personal experience, there's quite a few of them I can't get into by myself.
But it's something he's been doing for the last 20 years to participate in the session. He says the challenges prevent people from wanting to testify, even if the issue is about accessibility.
Some of the more important human service bills that affect people with disabilities, a lot of folks don't come up here because they know they can't get in there.
Schultz says the doorway to the harvest room is not only too narrow, but it's hard to maneuver once you get inside. Enter House Bill 1030, which sailed through the House Government and Veterans Committee this week. It would spend $750,000 from the Capitol Building Trust Fund to fix areas that don't fully comply with the Americans with Disabilities Act. The money would go toward more signage, wider doors, wheelchair lifts, listening devices for rooms, and more.
It's very important that we implement these changes for everyone. Everyone should be able to come to the Capitol grounds and use it the way that it's intended to be used.
John Boyle has been the Capitol's facility management director for 18 years. His role is to implement the changes should they be passed by the House, the Senate, and eventually the governor. If it is passed, an emergency clause in the bill means it will go into place immediately, and changes can start in the spring.
Hopefully it'll be May 1st, and we'll get rolling, and our goal is to have everything in place by the next legislative session in January of 2023.
Schultz says the changes would make it a lot easier for those with disabilities to have their voices heard.
It's going to be a great thing for everybody.
Reporting in Bismarck for KX News, Maddie Biertempfel. Coal is the lifeblood of Underwood, North Dakota, with the industry employing a big chunk of the roughly 800 people who live there.
40%. 35 to 40%, which is huge.
Mayor Leon Weisenberger says Great River Energy's closure of Coal Creek in 2022 would have been devastating.
A lot of sleepless nights, a lot of worry, that you know, if they're going to have a job in a year and a half.
But with Bismarck-based Rainbow Energy Center's plans to buy and continue operating the plant, months of worry have come to a close. The sale of Coal Creek Station is welcome news for the more than 260 people employed here and the more than 400 at Falkirk Mine, which supplies the coal for the plant.
Our prayers have been answered with a local company here in North Dakota that has a reputation for making good choices.
Justin Adolph owns Grimsley's convenience store right off the highway. It's the first thing you see when you drive into town.
A shock. It was fear. You know, I don't even work out there, but my business relies on that place more than people realize.
Adolph says he's considered downsizing his business if the plant shut down.
I know everybody in this town's feeling a little bit better today, knowing that we know for sure.
Manager of Underwood Farm Supply, Paul Cabrera, says when the community first thought the plant was closing, houses went up for sale.
And it kind of hurt us, our small town just getting even smaller.
Cabrera says coal is the best form of constant energy out there, but interest in renewable sources is growing.
We just look forward to see what's going to happen next and hopefully get some other interest in people coming into town and hopefully going with solar or wind energy.
The sale of the plant is expected to be finalized by the end of this year. Reporting in Underwood for KX News, Maddie Biertempfel. House legislators okayed a map adding 2 districts to the Williston area and 1 to the Fargo area. They also approved split House districts for the Fort Berthold Reservation in District 4 and the Turtle Mountain Reservation in District 9.
The committee put it in because it's settled federal law.
Tribal leaders have asked for subdistricts because they say it'd give their members a better shot at getting elected to the assembly, but it didn't pass easily.
If we leave subdistricts in this bill as it's proposed, we will be guilty of racial gerrymandering.
After nearly 2 hours of debate and 2 separate votes, the final bill passed 73-18. Lawmakers on the redistricting committee spoke in support of the bill. Their committee approved it unanimously Tuesday morning ahead of the House vote.
The committee has worked diligently on this subject, so we did not do this half-cocked.
Redistricting Committee Chairman Bill Devlin emphasized that the subdistricts comply with the Voting Rights Act. He also says if lawmakers don't act, the courts will.
I saw states spend $4 million on redistricting fights. I saw states spending $3.5 million on districting fights. But what I couldn't get was what South Dakota spent, and that would be a similar situation to ours.
The Senate also must approve the bill before it becomes law. They're expected to have a vote in the coming days. Reporting in Bismarck for KX News, Maddie Biertempfel.